Happy Sunday, Risers. We're back with another round of hashtag Rising Qs where we answer your questions. Robby, what do we got?
Well, this question comes from Piping Hot Centrist Takes. Less and less people are watching cable news. How bad do the viewership numbers for CNN have to get before they pivot their business model towards something less biased? Does it happen after losing half of their audience, 75%? So the issue is they probably feel it's the reverse. They feel like to hold on to the people they do have, they have to continue exactly what they're doing. Like the viewers that they do have are resistance liberals for whom every day is a new development in the January 6th, battle. And so if they were to cover something else, they wouldn't necessarily gain viewers, but they would lose the ones that they do have. And I think that's the trap and that's not just true for them, that's true for other networks and, with the decision coverages they've made. So, you have to be, it's hard to expand your coverage, I think, if you're caught in this sort of death spiral. What do you guys think?
And they don't care about viewers. I mean, it comes down to the money that they're getting. The only reason why you want viewers is because it translates to money. So your larger your audience typically would result in higher amounts of money you could gain from advertising. Well, if they're getting all the money from their advertisers anyway, because their advertisers like their messaging, then what do they care, right? Comes down to the cash.
What a lot of people don't know is that the actual money in cable news comes from cable companies. So you pay $100, $200 a month for cable. The cable company then splits that money between the different networks.
Comcast, Verizon, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so the vast majority of the revenue that CNN makes doesn't actually come from their ads. They get plenty of money from ads. And actually, side note, one of the few places where advertisers can still get eyeballs is on news and sports, because it's something that has to be watched live. I mean, you can obviously news, you can wait a little bit, you can tape a game, but in general, people are watching news and sports live, therefore they can't fast forward.
Right, the other things they just speed through or you watch it, record it, Right,
so that's a side note, but the point is that a majority of the revenue comes from the cable companies. And so as long as enough cable subscribers want CNN or Fox or MSNBC as part of their main package, then they're going to get a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a dedicated base of viewers who really want, say, if I'm getting cable, I want CNN. If I'm getting cable, I want Fox. Now, there's a push by the left to say, no, make Fox a la carte. I don't want Fox. I'm sure there's a push from the right to say, make CNN a la carte. Yeah. And then if you go a la carte, there's much less revenue.
And by push, you mean there have been Democrats in office saying it is like you're fostering extremism. It's like domestic terrorism to include Fox or OAN
got kicked off of what AT&T or whatever it was, and so OAN was getting all of its money basically from the cable company. So now that it's getting booted from that main thing, they lose a ton of their money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's go to the next question.
So that drives their behavior anyway.
You want to read this one?
Yeah. So this is from Emma Miami Money, and she asks, "What have you learned about our country that you didn't know before the last 2 years? How have your impressions of America and Americans changed? What shocked you? What gave you faith?" I mean, for me, I feel like the trend that we had been on since decades, but really accelerating in the last decade, of moving big policy questions off of the political chessboard, off of elections, out of the ability of a democratically run process to come up with policy solutions, moving these big questions off and replacing it with pure culture war stuff. Seeing that trend accelerate so heavily in the last 2 years is a thing that has sapped a lot of faith that I have in this, and raised the question of what is the point of all of this. That when really basic questions just become tribal, then it becomes, well, what are we even doing here? And so that's the thing that has really struck me over the last couple of years.
Yeah, for me it's COVID. I was very surprised how willing and for how long so many of my fellow Americans were willing to put up with the restrictions, far beyond what I was willing to put up with, and ongoing. I thought people would, when people took to the streets for the Black Lives Matter protesting, I thought that was it. I thought we'd just be in the streets partying and even if the disease was still rampaging, and that was not true. Everyone went right back to their homes afterward.
Yeah, I'm with you, Robby. My biggest shocker, I think, over the last 2 years is slightly different. Not just that Americans would put up with all of the restrictions, but I've been really surprised at how authoritarian so many of our fellow Americans are. That's actually been the biggest disappointment and the biggest shock for me, is just realizing, wow, okay, a lot of people are really into that authoritarian grip of do what I say or else. So that's been my kind of big shock. But
yeah, and the thing that's been always motivated me to be involved in politics is wages, employment, healthcare, environment, climate, like making people's lives better in a material way. And this kind of stuff just doesn't. It's not that it bores me necessarily, but it's like it's not what I want to fight about all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, let's go ahead. So Meech asked, would any of you guys consider running for public office? So here you go, Ryan. Maybe you could fix this.
No,
run
because
for public office.
No, if I ran for A, I would never do that. But B,
why not? Then you could bring the conversation back. No, you wouldn't. You could go in there and you could say, let's talk about what matters. I think Americans actually are ready for that. I think Americans want to talk about policy that matters. I'm with you on that, Ryan. I think that let's get back to the basics of what's actually going to make our country better. But I think the politicians get into these culture wars, and because they milk it, they know that's going to get people fired up. Unfortunately, that's the stuff that makes people emotional and makes them vote, is the culture war stuff. But maybe you could change this, Ryan, run for office. Would you consider it?
No, I really like journalism. I like writing.
Okay. What about you, Robby? You gonna run for
Never
office?
in a million years, under no circumstances would I ever. I don't want to have where they go back and find that time in kindergarten where I called someone a doo-doo head and then my life's ruined.
Those skeletons.
I'm sure that happened. Never. What about you, Kim? You should run. Kim for president.
I should run.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say never, right? Because you never know. But at this point, I do not have that on my.
I'm saying never. I am
horizon.
definitively saying never.
You're saying never.
Saying never.
That's gonna come back to bite. You know what? It's gonna be Ryan and I who'd never run for office, and it's gonna be you out of the three of us now who ends up running for office just because you said never.
No.
Libertarian ticket.
No. And that's the other thing. I don't believe the government should exist is the other problem for me. So.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, that does it for us then. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you guys all tomorrow.
Bye-bye.